All right, guys, here we are again in our tiny little kitchen. You guys cannot see me. It's okay. You guys know what I look like. I want you guys to see what I'm doing. I'm going to make cinnamon bun. My grandson is finally here visiting. So that's what we're going to do. So you guys see I got Bertha here. But I have a whole egg and 2 yolks. We're going to make, I have a recipe for a small batch of cinnamon buns, but we're going to make a little bit more. So for the regular recipe for this small batch, which I am going to leave it in the description box, you're going to need 1 cup of warm milk, quarter of a cup of sugar, half a stick of butter, uh, 2 teaspoons of yeast, 2 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, um, a quarter of a teaspoon of salt, a tiny little thing. It calls for 1 egg, but like I say, I'm using a whole egg and 2 egg yolks and half a teaspoon of baking powder. So that's what we're going to do. Yes, you could use either just the plain yeast, but I'm going to add both because I want them to be big. Okay, that's just for the dough. And for the inside, you're going to need butter. You're going to need your um, cinnamon, oh my gosh, cinnamon, powdered cinnamon. I don't even think I have none. I think I only have a little bit. But we're going to make it work because I'm going to mix mine with nutmeg and ginger. See, you can always make it work. That's what you do when you bake. So, and for the icing, I do have powdered sugar. So we're going to make the icing with powdered sugar. I don't have any cream cheese, but we're going to make it with powdered sugar. It'll be fine. So, um, I'm going to get, it calls for 1 cup of warm milk. So I'm going to do a cup and a half because I'm going to add extra flour. I want it to be more muffins. So I'm going to heat them up in the microwave. I'm going to heat it up because the yeast need to activate. You need sugar and you need the milk to be warm. Okay, so let's do that. All right, the milk is warm. We're going to add I want them to be nice and big. So we're going to let it do what it gotta do. I am going to add a little bit of sugar in the milk because sugar, it'll help activate. We're going to let it sit for at least 5 minutes. All right, so I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes there. We're going to cover it. Meanwhile, let's set this mixer up. I don't need this anymore. So this is my sugar. So we're going to be using the hook. This is clean. It doesn't look like it, but it is. It is gray in color, not white. You guys hear noise in the background? That's my grandson. He's playing video games. Okay, so that's gonna sit there for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to add the rest of the sugar in there with the eggs and the butter. And for that, we're going to need the globe. You could tell that I haven't used Bertha in a while. Yes, I named her Bertha. Hello. I know, it's funny. We're going to make this and bring it together. And make sure that your eggs, your everything is room temperature, okay? So like that, everything comes out better. So I'm going to let that mix there for at least a good 10 minutes. I want it to be nice and fluffy. All right, we're gonna start adding the flour 1 cup at a time. And you're not gonna press down. When you're baking, you're not gonna press down. You wanna make sure it's even, because if you don't, you're going to end up adding extra ingredient, okay? We're going to add 1 cup at a time because you don't want flour to be all over. And you're gonna start with the low setting until it gets incorporate. Okay. Okay, we're gonna add the second. We're gonna add our 3 cups. Remember, I added extra liquid. I added a cup and almost, I added a 1 cup and 1/3 of milk. So I am going to be adding more flour, but we want our dough to be nice and loose. We don't want it to be tough and hard. So we're going to let it combine. I do have cinnamon stick here. I only have a little bit of cinnamon for the inside, for the filling, and it's cinnamon. So I'm going to take some cinnamon. I'm going to break it as much as I can in small pieces, and then I'm going to add it to my magic bullet and make it a powder. And I will have cinnamon powder. Okay? If you didn't know that, now you know. So we're going to let that incorporate really good. You want to mix it until the dough is separated from the bowl. So since it's still to running, we're going to add let me get the 1/2 cup because I don't want to add too much. We're gonna add a 1/2 cup, okay? So far I added 3.5 cups. So I'm going to let that mix really good. I think that's gonna do it. So 3.5 cups. So I'm gonna let that mix really good. And meanwhile, I'm going to break this in small pieces and put it on my bullet and make cinnamon powder. I'm working on the filling right now. So I melted a stick of butter, not all the way through, and I'm adding a 1/4 cup of sugar. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna this is about a 1/4 cup. This is going to be for the filling. And I'm using light brown sugar because that's what I have. If I would have dark brown sugar, I would have used the dark. And I did the cinnamon sticks in the bullet. So when you do that, please do not open it right away. Let it sit, because cinnamon release particles, and if they go up your nose, it's going to burn. Okay? You're going to be in some serious pain for a couple of days, because cinnamon is a spice that when it hits water, especially, it's not the same thing from when you are opening a container than when you are mixing the cinnamon sticks yourself. Okay? There is a couple of lumps in my sugar, but it's okay. So I'm going to take a teaspoon, and I'm going to add it in there. Okay. Remember, now that I'm using cinnamon stick, turning to cinnamon at home, this is going to be a strong cinnamon, so you got to be careful how much you add. I'm going to add a little more. Almost basically a teaspoon and a half. Okay? So that's that. So that's the filling. So now I'm going to clean my counter, and I'm going to work the dough. All right, guys, I got my dough here on top of the counter. We're going to stretch it out. I mean, people ask me, you could buy the cinnamon bun in the store and make it. Yeah, I could. Do I like the taste? No, not really. Because I could take the preservatives, like the chemical from the dough. So you know what you're putting in your body, so you rather make your own stuff at home. Try to stretch it evenly in a square. So like that, I'm preheating my oven at 375 degrees. Even though the ones I cut them and, roll them and everything, I'm going to let it rest for at least half an hour before I put it on the oven. This is a nice, rich dough, soft. So you know that your cinnamon buns are going to be soft. So now I'm just going to add the filling. And I also crushed some walnuts. So I'm using the same spatula. And make sure that once you add the filling, you spread it all the way to your edges. You're going to leave a little edge here because that's what you're going to pinch. So I'm going to spread this really good. I'm going to take my time and spread it without ripping the dough because it's a soft dough, and I'll show you what it looks like before I wrap it. Alright guys, this is what it looks like. So now we are going to roll it. I added the walnuts. guess I'll be having the edge because I didn't took the filling all the way to the edge on that side. Because I didn't have enough and I didn't want to make any more. Okay. Alright guys, so you're going to pinch it here at the end. You're going to pinch it. It is kind of way too long for my counter, but we manage. You're going to pinch it. And then I'm going to cut it even pieces. So I'm going to cut it here in the center. And I'm going to cut it about an inch apart. Okay, an inch thick. Because I want it to be big, like the Cinnabon from the mall. That's how it's going to be. So let me do that and then I'll show you. You take a string. You put it underneath. You crisscross. And you cut. Because if you use a knife, the knife is going to make it flat and destroy, and it's going to be stuck together, and it's not going to bake properly, okay? That's how you cut your homemade cinnamon bun. You could use I'm using a sewing string. Long as you use a string that does not release color, or you could use floss, non-flavored floss, because it releases the flavor to your dough and you don't want your cinnamon bun instead of cinnamon taste like toothpaste. Okay, so like so. And then I already spray my pan, which is right here. And I'll show you what it looks like. See, it's very nice soft dough. So now we're going to put them in the pan, and I'm going to let this rest for at least half an hour. So when it baked, it already had spread out a little bit. So you could also use a large muffin pan, but you're not gonna have the same the same outcome, because you want to give them space for them to rise. In the muffin tin, I am going to use this. Actually, I'm going to use my bread pan for this because they're small. So I'm going to cover this. I'm going to cover them and let them sit for half an hour, and then I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like when they're baked. While the cinnamon comes out of the oven, the cinnamon buns, guys, they're so big. I'm making some fried chicken, and we're gonna have that with fries. I'm just cooking it for me and my grandson. Um, this is 2 thighs that are seasoned. They are going to be fried as well. So that got about another 15 minutes, and when it's done, I'll show you what it looks like. I'm going to be working on the icing, which is just going to be a little bit of powdered sugar, powdered sugar. And I'm going to do almond flavoring topping. And that's about it. And that's what we're going to add. All right, guys, the cinnamon buns are done. Time to get them out of the oven. Guys, I wish you could smell my place. This is what they look like. So we're going to let them cool down. We're going to let them cool down, and then we're going to ice them. But right now, child, I'm telling you, It smells wonderful. Oh yeah. So guys, let me bring you guys over here. Let me leave it like I always say. You guys gonna see them finish on the thumbnail. Right now I am cooking the fries for my grandson and I to sit down and eat. We're hungry. So guys, this have to cool down. And I have my icing here. Homemade icing. Powdered sugar, a cup of powdered sugar. Half a teaspoon of almond extra. And 1 tablespoon of water. Stir it and that's it. So I will be adding that to the cinnamon buns when they are warm. Right now they are hot. They just came out of the oven. So I'm going to leave it like I always say. Be kind to one another. Don't forget to smile overall. Stay safe, stay healthy. And remember, guys, God loves you, and I do too. It will be into the next one. Bye bye. Bye bye.